time to Dreamtime fam. Welcome back. So in our previous episode we discussed about dopamine trap, what really dopamine trap is and how does it work. But today we are diving into the ridiculously yet fantastic world of mobile addiction. And today we are especially focusing on why can't I stop scrolling? I guess this is kind of like a universal question, and this is a question which we all might have asked our own self once in our lifetime, that why, what's the reason behind I can't stop scrolling. So you know that feeling when you are scrolling through social media and hours disappear just like magic. So yeah, that's what we are tackling today. So buckle up folks, and don't worry, I won't judge you if you are scrolling through social media right now while listening to this podcast. So I think mobile addiction, it's kind of like having a bad boyfriend. It's toxic, but you can't seem to break up. So our brains are wired to respond to social media's endless stream of rewards and notifications. But what's happening behind the scenes? Let's explore. So imagine you are at a party and everyone is having fun without you. That's what social media makes you feel. FOMO, anxiety, and the need to constantly check in. So this is what social media really do to us. So I have divided this podcast into few topics, or maybe we can say into few segments. So the first segment is about dopamine release. Now, in our previous episode, I know that we dove deeper into what really dopamine is, how does it work, we got to know about all of that thing. But just if some of you haven't heard or haven't listened to that episode or anything like that, if you might forget that thing, so just wanted to kind of like give you a little bit of recall or maybe a glimpse. So just imagine that dopamine, it's kind of like a reward, and every time you kind of like scroll, you just get a tiny reward so you are scrolling. So it's also, you can think of dopamine as slot machine, which kind of like release feel good chemical the second you scroll. Each swipe gives you a feel good chemical. So social media platform knows this, and they use this algorithm to keep you hooked, to keep you connected to the social media. And it's kind of also like eating chips. You can't stop at just one. So you can think of it also like this, like a digital hug. It's feel good, but it's fleeting. You need another hug and another and another. So this is what dopamine is, and this is how exactly dopamine work. But now what I'm trying to make you understand, that just kind of like wanted to give you a little bit of glimpse so that it's kind of like it becomes a little easy to understand this episode. So our segment 2, it's about infinite scrolling. So in this segment we are going to learn about a really nice thing. So please, I just want you to listen this carefully. And this is something which when I got to know, I was kind of like very, very excited. I was very fascinated about this thing, about this discovery. Okay, so let's go ahead. So now let's first talk about what really infinite scrolling is. So I think infinite scrolling is like being on a never-ending treadmill. You feel like you are getting somewhere, but really you are just running in a place. So our brains are tricked into thinking, just one more scroll and I'll find something interesting. Just one more scroll, I'll find something fascinating. Just last scroll, I think this is definitely going to be my last scroll, last reel, last video, last post, or last story. So this is how exactly our brain tricks us, that this is going to be my last video, last reel, but that isn't. So this is Zeigarnik effect. Now let me tell you about what really Zeigarnik effect is and all of that. So there was a Soviet psychologist who discovered this effect, Zeigarnik effect, in 1920s, and her name was Miss Bluma Zeigarnik. So she was working at a restaurant and she observed something, I would say, very fascinating about waiters, that the waiters could remember complex orders from multiple tables. But as soon as the orders were fulfilled, they forgot the detail. It means, like, let's say, for example, there are 5 tables and there is one waiter. So he would remember all those complex orders until and unless it's not fulfilled. The second he delivered all those orders, or all those orders are fulfilled, he will forget it. So Miss Bluma Zygarnik realized that our brain are wired to remember uncompleted tasks or open loops better than the completed ones. This is because our brain is constantly seeking for closure and resolution. Think about it like this, that when you start something, your brain creates a mental loop that says, hey, I need to finish this. Hey, I need to complete this. So now let's apply this concept to social media. When you scroll through your feeds, you are constantly being presented with unfinished tasks, which is posts, stories, videos, and more. So each piece of content, it's like an open loop begging to be closed. So what I'm really trying to say, that our brain kind of like creates a loop for incomplete task, and our brain is like, you know what, this task is not completed, I have to complete this task. And in that loop, we just kind of like sit and start scrolling reels. And the second we know that it's been hours, it's been 1 hour, 2 hour, and then we are like, oh my goodness, I just kind of like wasted my 1 hour in just scrolling some useless reel which is not even contributing anything to my life or anything like that. And also, like, your brain is like, oh, I need to watch this video, oh, this one too, and this one too. And before you know this, you have spent hours scrolling. So the Zygarnik effect is at play here. Your brain is trying to close the loop on each piece of content. Yeah, you heard it right, that your brain is definitely trying to close the loop of each piece of content, but there is always something new. The loop never closes. Because your brain kind of like, you can also think of it like this, that when you're scrolling through social media, you're not consuming content, you're kind of like making a to-do list. You're making a to-do list in which you're writing that this reel is uncompleted, I have to watch this reel, I have to watch this post, this stories. And what the thing we don't know is that there are billions of stories, posts, and reels on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook. So yeah, that's how our brain tricks us. But now what we have to do, we have to try to trick our brain rather than our brain tricking us. And if we just make this simple difference, or if we just make this simple kind of like move, I feel like you will definitely see a major difference in your life. So we are always into this loop that, you know what, I need to watch this video, I need to read this article, or I need to check out this story. But because you can't possibly finish all those tasks, so your brain keeps nagging you to come back and finish all those tasks. And yeah, that's how it kind of like creates a loop. So this is why infinite scrolling is so addictive. It's not just content itself, it's kind of like a psychological manipulation of our brain desire for closure. Social media platforms are designed to keep us engaged, and this Zygarnik effect is one of the key psychological mechanisms that make it so hard to put our phone down. But by understanding how this Zygarnik effect works, we can begin to break free from the cycle of infinite scrolling and take back control of our screen time. So infinite scrolling is like watching a never-ending soap opera. You need to know what happens next, and so you keep scrolling. I mean, who needs an actual friend when you have Instagram, right? So now we are coming to our third segment, which is social media validation. So I feel like we can also think of social media like a digital high school where we all crave for likes, comments, followers, and because we all need that validation that we are cool, we are popular or loved. Oxytocin and dopamine flood our brains, making us feel good, but it's fleeting, leaving us craving more. Imagine you are attending a party where everyone compliments you that you are really looking nice, you are looking pretty, your dress is so beautiful, and all of that. You will feel amazing, right? That's social media's effect. But what happens when the party is over? You're left alone. I'm not saying that social media is virtual popularity contest, but actually that's what I'm trying to say. So now let's come to our from our segment 3, we kind of like got to know about the social media validation, that we all are somewhere around craving for this validation because we need to know that we are cool, I am popular, or I am loved, something like this. So segment 4 is about brain hijacking. So I think I have a dedicated episode for this topic because this topic it's very long and it's kind of like really hard to elaborate in just one video, but yeah, so sorry, one episode. So I'll just kind of like give you a little glimpse of what really brain hijacking is. So see, mobile addiction hijacks our brain's attention system. It exploits our cognitive biases. Notifications, alerts, and updates trigger our stress, which is cortisol and adrenaline. So we'll discuss about this in our kind of like next episode, I guess. Next to next episode. So it's kind of like having a digital alarm clock which never stops ringing. And you can think of notifications like a nagging friend who is always like, hey, check this out. Hey, look at that. Hey, you cannot ignore me. Hey, please see. Hey. They are always like, keep asking for your attention. And you can't ignore them even when you want to. So yeah, that's what notifications are. But yeah, if we want to ignore them, we can by kind of like by making off notifications, like we can off all the applications notifications. So yeah, it's kind of like in our hand. So yeah, but we'll talk about this in our next episode or next to next. So now let's come to our segment 5, which is endless loop. I mean, we are stuck in an endless loop of scroll, like, comment, and then repeat. We are scrolling, liking, and commenting, and then repeating this whole cycle. So our brains adapt craving more stimulation. So it's like being on a digital hamster wheel, running fast and fast and fast, but getting nowhere. Imagine playing a video game that never ends. You are leveling up, but what's the point? So yeah, that's why we can't stop scrolling. So if we recognize this thing, so it would be the first step to break free. If we recognize about this Zeigarnik effect, so it would be our first step from which we could kind of like break up with our phone, or we could, I'm not trying to say over here that you don't have to watch phone. Definitely mobile phone are the blessing, but it's just that you have to watch it in a moderate form. That's what I'm trying to say in all the episodes of this podcast. So yeah, here's the deal. You have the power to take back control. If you want to take back control, you can, because you have all the rights, you have all the power. So imagine a life where you scroll through social media without feeling guilty or anxious or frustrated. A life where you are present in the moment, not stuck in a digital loop. So yeah, I guess in this episode too. So I mean, here's the thing, that we can set boundaries without losing our productivity or connectivity. So remember, every small step count. Start with 1 hour, 1 day, or 1 weekend. Your mind, body, and relationship will thank you. So subscribe to Screen Time to Dream Time on Spotify and also on YouTube. And share this episode with a friend or family member who really needs to hear this, or send this episode to someone who is always kind of like scrolling, even it's kind of like an important family meeting, an important friends discussion, or anything like that. So thanks for tuning in. See you in the next episode. Bye.